welcome to the Word. Today is another Wisdom Wednesday episode, and we are in Proverbs chapter 1 again. We'll probably have at least 3 episodes in Proverbs chapter 1. Let's get into the text. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in learning. Let the one who understands obtain guidance, to understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland to your head and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive, and whole like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our houses with plunder. Throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain is a net spread in the sight of any bird, but these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set an ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. Wisdom cries aloud in the streets. In the markets she raises her voice. At the head of the noisy streets she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called you and you refused to listen, have stretched out my hand, and no one has heeded, because you have ignored all my counsel and would have none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, would have none of my counsel, and despised all my reproof. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their way, and have their fill of their own devices. For the simple are killed by their turning away, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But whoever listens to me will dwell secure and will be at ease without dread of disaster. The grass withers, the flowers fade, but the word of our Lord endures forever. Thanks be to God. So in this episode, last time we talked about what is wisdom, and one of the important things that we pointed out is that wisdom is, or particularly the words used for wisdom in the Old Testament, has to do with having a true knowledge of things in the world and applying that well. And so Proverbs is going to get into managing your financial life, managing your relational life, and people can take this advice and use it to run their life in a way that, by all outward appearances, is being run well, but it's kind of the height of folly to be a whitewashed tomb, to have a well-organized life and to not have right relationship with God. And so the way Proverbs is going to get at this is this phrase right here: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Now, we talked about how Proverbs is formatted, much of it is formatted, as though a conversation between a father and a son. And so I think we can glean a lot of wisdom here in this conversation between this father and this son. And so as we pick up in verse 8, it says, hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Now, this is an important note here. A lot of people will say the Bible is kind of anti-woman, and it's not. That this young son has learned from his father and his mother. Both are able to teach him. And the son should listen both to his father and his mother. This is not necessarily the norm across the ancient Near East at the time where this is writing. This would, at the time, be radically progressive compared to many of the neighbors in the ancient Near East world. And so they're telling this son, listen to your parents, forsake not your mother's teaching. They're a graceful garland to your head. They're pendants for your neck. They're these beautiful things when children pay attention. And then the first lesson, this is I think very instructive for us. The first lesson that this father and mother give to their son is they want their son to hear what worldly temptation, what fleshly temptation, what satanic temptation is going to sound like first from their parents. This is very important. Often as parents, we can be tempted to isolate and insulate our children and to protect them, and that is not by any means bad. However, eventually our kids will go out into the world. That's not just good, but that's necessary that they do that. And you want them, when they hear the temptations of the world, when they hear these phrases, come, let us lie in wait for blood, let us ambush the innocent without reason. Now, most of us probably aren't in a context where our kids are going to be tempted to fall in with murderers immediately. The parents are giving an extreme example. But the parents want the child to hear it first from them so that their parents can frame it. They want their parents to frame it. And this tactic is going to be used multiple times in Proverbs. And the first one is essentially easy gain. Let us lie in wait for blood. Let's ambush the innocent. Let's swallow them alive like the grave. No one's going to know. There's no forensic investigators at this point. If someone dies in the wilderness, it's very hard to pin that on one person. We will find all precious goods. Hey, you can become wealthy easily. Is that a temptation that our kids are going to face, that we might face? Yes. We can fill our houses with plunder. We'll be wealthy and we won't even have to have worked for it. And it says, throw your lot in among us. We'll all have one purse. We'll have one purse. Have we heard, that radical collectivism, communism, all of these, we'll share one purse. Right. Okay. The gang is going to share perfectly. And then he says, my son, don't walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths. So the temptation, the thing that they're going to do, and then the reason for it, easy, ill-gotten gain, the parent is telling their child, you're going to hear people tempt you like this. And then he gives his son a way to frame it. He says, my son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths. But he does not just tell them, hey, don't do this. Hey, don't drink. Don't do drugs. Don't dance or chew or go with girls that do. None of that. He is going to give them, he's going to help his child frame it. Do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths. For their feet run to evil. They make haste to shed blood. And he says, for in vain is a net spread in the sight of any bird. But these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set an ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. And so in Proverbs, they're going to do this over and over and over again. They're going to, the father is going to give a compelling argument that the son might hear and be tempted by when he goes out into the world. He's going to say, hey, no one's going to know if we fool around in this way. No one's going to know if we drink to excess. We're in college, no one's going to know. So this father creates an image for his son. When you see people trying to get unjust and greedy gain at someone else's expense, that before God, this is like a bird that is spreading a net for himself. Other times it's going to get images of a lamb being led to the slaughter. And so he explains it in a compelling way, how the world is actually going to present this temptation. He tells them kind of what's really going on, and then he gives them this image and a framework. When you see a young man going to a prostitute, he'll talk about later in Proverbs, think about a lamb being led to the slaughter. And so here, when you think about someone who is trying to get unjust gain, an image to associate with that is you're working hard to get unjust gain, and it's kind of like you're spreading a net in the sight of the bird. You're spreading a net that you yourself are going to fall into. It will take away the life of its possessors, even if you get that wealth temporarily. Unjust and greedy gain will take away the life of its possessors. This is another Wisdom Wednesday episode. Have a good day.